Hello, my name is Daniel and we're going to be painting the Superman bust from Berserk Studios. We're going to take it from this to this. I know I said I would talk about burnout in this video, but due to burnout, I won't be talking about those things anymore. No. I'm taking this channel in a slightly different direction, taking it from Dan's Neurospicy Art to Figure It Out. I'll be focusing solely on the painting through the videos. If you are more interested in the neurodiversity and my experiences, I'll be keeping that to Facebook. I am much better at writing what I think rather than speaking. I had many moments yesterday trying to do this intro and I just couldn't string two words together. So I'm hoping that by changing the direction, I'll be putting a little less pressure on myself, allowing me to just give better quality overall. Enjoy the video. Let's go. As this is a 3D model, we need to remember to post-process it and clean it properly before we get to this stage. We should always use a primer for adhesion, and here I am just using a black Vallejo model primer. I find it quite nice. I just wish I could sand it. I make sure to get into every nook and cranny, covering the whole model really well. From there, I go to a zenithal highlight. I'm using a Liquitex white ink, just trying to cover where the light should hit. I use a custom skin tone. I use a mix of paints from JoSonja. There's about 8 colors, but you can get away with bisque, red, blue, and yellow in very small quantities. Skin is actually translucent, so I put it on quite thin and about 6 layers. I should still be able to just see the black from the zenithal highlight showing through, barely. Be careful around places like the eyes. You don't want the paint to build up too much. You'll lose the detail where you actually put the eyes in. Now I block in the hair. This will give me an idea of how light or dark I still need to go with the skin. To be honest, I think I should have gone a little bit lighter than I did with this Superman, but I'm still very much learning this process. I'm using a blue black. It's just a drop of blue in 4 drops of black. Now I'm blocking in the suit while all that dries. This is a custom blue. I think it's like 5 drops of blue with a drop of black, or 2 drops of black. Can't remember. In fact, I probably did it differently every time I did it. I try to make sure I get into every spot. I know a lot of places can't be seen, but if someone picks it up and takes a look around, I want it to be covered if I can. It's not always possible. It depends on how the model's cut. So I'm just using the knot black from the hair to base down before I put the metallics on the base. I thought using a blue this time would just be suitable for Sudaman. Here I am making rock color. I just use a mixture of greys, sometimes browns, yellows, greens, blues. It depends on what I'm looking for. From here I'll go over it with dry brushing in a couple of different greys just to break it up more. Next I use a dark wash like a black or a brown just to add depth into the rock. I'll go back over it again with a dry brush, trying to hit those highlights that really help them pop. Touch up that blue. So for adding details of skin, I use a mixture of washes. There's a light skin, yellow, red, blue, a skin ink from Vallejo. I'll start with the yellow wash, making sure that you're dabbing it with a sponge to get the wash off quite quickly. We're only trying to tint the skin. I also use a very weak wash. I couldn't tell you the ratio. I just put a couple of drops in and fill the rest of it up with water. After the yellow wash, I go in with the blue wash to give some cold tones. I'm actually going over the veins in the hands with the blue here. That'll just help them pop out a little bit more. And finally, the red wash. I use some IPA alcohol to help break it up. That helps to give the appearance of capillaries underneath the skin. So this process is repeated on all the skin. And then finally, I go in with the details using all of the washes, putting the reds over the nose and in the eyes, some yellow under the eyes and over the lips, using some brown to darken areas, the light skin tone for highlights. I'm still learning where each color goes to get maximal effect. Each model I do seems to improve quite significantly, so we'll see where I am in a few months. I actually do skin tones differently based on the model that I'm doing. So for these larger busts, I use the zenithal. But when I drop to a 1/6 scale, I tend to push the highlights a bit more, so I use my airbrush. You'll see this in my next video when I do Angela, the Asgard Assassin by Wicked. So trying to make sure they're both pretty well the same was really hard. I didn't quite succeed. Obviously my cat thinks I've been sitting there too long and I need a bath. It still takes me around about 3 hours, sometimes up to 6, to do a portrait, but I am getting faster with each one. I would say this is my best skin tone so far. If you like what you see here today, please like, subscribe, share, all of that stuff for the algorithm. It'll really help me out. Thank you very much and keep enjoying the video. So now I go in with a gold dry brush over the base, slapping it on there, trying not to get it on the rock. I'm trying to get as thick a coverage as I can. I really want this gold to pop when I'm done. Silver for the little post on the side, and then some translucent red. I love the way translucent red looks over a gold. If you want a brighter pop of red, use silver. Go in and touch up the base as I've added silver to all the lines on the side. I just thought it needed breaking up a bit more. And now the shirt. I start with deck tan as it covers much better than white. It still took 3 coats to be able to base it ready for white. It then took another 4 coats of white over that, so you can imagine what it would be if I didn't do the deck tan. Again, getting into every little nook and cranny. Careful not to fuck up the skin. Now in hindsight, I should have done the shirt after I dry brushed the suit. You live, you learn. So I'm using an electric blue here. Usually I love using candies and metallics for superhero suits, but this was a Christopher Reeve style model. So I really wanted to stick with the more original suit of just flat colors. So adding deck tan to the S because the yellow and red coverage is just absolutely piss poor. This just gives a nice solid base. I then add white where the yellow is going, just so it is really bright. I go in with the yellow first, as red can go over the yellow quite easily, but not vice versa. And then I go in with the red. Careful, careful, cause fucked if I want to fix that shit. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm doing the buttons. I've used a really thinned out grey, as shirt buttons are usually a clear plastic. This just gave them that translucent kind of look. I go over the base with the panel liner now, and this really helps to deepen all of those crevices and just gives it depth. Dry brushing the suit so you can see all the detail in the suit material and it pops the highlights out. I like to keep the clothing more on the basic, almost comic-y style, with the skin tones being a bit more realistic, almost like the comic book character is coming to life, instead of a real-life version of the comic book character. Just going over the belt, I added a little bit of a dry brush and then some panel liner. I didn't want anything too fancy there. And some silver on the belt buckle. Time to have a break, pat the cat. That's Lucy. He is basically my shadow. And if you've ever seen Disenchanted, you'll know where I got it from. So I dry brush over the hair. Usually I would use a blue for a comic type character with black hair. It just didn't look right for Clark Kent. So I used a light blue grey, and that seemed to do a much better job. So I'm just basing out the grey on the hat. It's a medium sea grey. This hat shit me to tears. Such a basic thing, and I just couldn't get it right. So here I'm just adding some patterns onto the glasses. What I forgot to show in here was I go over it later with a translucent brown to give it a tortoiseshell effect. And now I'm using the same blue from the suit on the hat just to tie it in. It was this band that was causing me so much trouble. I wanted to dry brush the little creases in it, and every time I did I would stuff something up. So I thought I was clever here and I masked it up. I hate masking, so for me to mask something, I've got to be pretty desperate. And I thought I was doing so well. Careful, careful. Everything looks good, and yeah, that's the look of defeat. Now what I don't show here is I actually airbrushed to fix it. I was kind of too angry to remember the camera. I also seem to have lost the footage for the eyes. Just super gluing it together. These parts shouldn't be taking any weight. If they're taking a shear force, I tend to use an epoxy resin, but anything just held in, I use some thick super glue, some activator, and she's all good. And that is the finished Superman. I hope you like it. Leave a comment letting me know if you have or you don't. Next video, I plan on doing Angela, the Asgard assassin from Wicked. I hope you can join me there. This model was the first time that I had tried to paint. For fuck's sake, Daniel! Fuck me! It's words!